It's really that simple.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, I think recently you had a client where app design kind of came into play. Maybe they didn't have a full vision, or maybe they did, or what was?
We recently had a client come to us, and they wanted us to make a feature where management could manage the time and time off of their employees. So their employees needed to, switch shifts sometimes. Sometimes an employee wanted to give a shift away, not switch a shift. And then sometimes, employees want to request formal time off. So they wanted this as sort of a back office operations thing. They were really flexible with us, and they said, you guys can kind of decide how to do it. Now, we happen to know from 20 years of doing this, time, anything related to time is actually the most complex type of thing you can do in a website. It's just, time is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's so hard, it complicates so many things. So we came up with something amongst ourselves after a lot of talking. And honestly, what we came up with was pretty cool and complex, but it was too complex. Mm-hmm. And it, nobody could figure it out without somebody sitting there and describing to them how to do it in a lot of detail.
Which makes it not functional.
Yeah, and that's not functional. You need to make something so good that people can kind of look at it and know what to do.
Yeah.
And so, we spent about 2 weeks changing the app, this particular time feature around in the app, and nothing was working. And I said, stop. And I said, we have to start from scratch. So I said, let's start the first page off with 3 buttons. Just that simple. Request time off, give a shift away, trade a shift. 3 buttons. Let's start there.
Yep.
From those 3 buttons, what does the user see?
Right.
If you request time off, all right, time, what dates do you want off?
Right.
Is it one day? Is it a day, 4 days in a row, Monday through Friday of a certain date? So what we did was we said, typically it's a range. Right. So we ended up doing a from date and a to date. And then we added a note field. So your from date and your to date could be the same day, which means you want that day off. Your from date could be, 8/21 to 8/24.
Right.
Any other stipulations you can put in the note field, and then a simple submit button. Where we were putting the submit before was like top right of the page. It was like submit.
A little harder to reach,
yeah. Yeah, it's just like, you're doing something. I mean, I guess if you hold the app in one hand and you're doing it like this, you can press it. But if you're doing it with one hand,
right,
your thumb is not going to reach up to the top right of the phone.
Right.
So I said, clearly we have to put a submit button at the bottom. I mean, come on. So let's put the submit button right at the bottom. Let's use the colors of the client's brand. Let's create a simple mobile form. Mobile forms are done in a certain way. You've all seen them in apps.
Yep.
It's almost like a row. It's a row. It's just 2 gray lines. And typically the label kind of is floating on the left of the row. And then the whatever goes in that label, like if it's your name or whatever, is kind of like in the middle.
Right.
And then there will typically be a right facing arrow that's gray. And that implies that you can click on that row and then select something. Right. Select the date, select this, select that.
It's like a drop-down menu.
Yeah, it's a native form. It's not a web form. It's a native form. That's the native official industry standard way of doing it. So when we made the first page, I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is so simple. It kind of looks generic and, and juvenile, kind of like something a rookie would do. But sometimes you have to dumb it down like that so it's so easy.
Yep.
Everybody that picks it up recognizes it. Oh, this is a form. Oh, these are just buttons that I can select. Oh, this is what I do. So we ended up creating the give a shift away like that. And obviously that had who do you want to give the shift to, and then what shift. In our system that we created, we actually had shifts that were already in the system. So with that, you can choose the coworker and then access their shifts and then tap on a shift and it will autofill that row with that shift. And then it also had a notes field, a little, box notes field and a submit button. And then finally for trade a shift, that was the most complex one. We did where it was the who do you want to trade a shift with, your shift that you're trading, and their shift that they're giving you. So it had 3 rows with a submit button. So we essentially created 3 separate forms,
Right.
which, that might seem kind of messy, but really a smart way of doing it. You could have created one form, but you would have had to do conditional programming in that form so that that form changed to reflect what it was supposed to reflect based on what button you picked.
Right.
In a back-end programming way, you could do that if you want, and all the conditional programming. It takes more time. You have to charge the client less. Or you could just create 3 damn buttons.
Right.
And then each one of those buttons goes to a different form. The user is not going to know and realize it's 3 separate buttons and 3 separate forms. They're going to know, I click one button, I get the form I need. I click the second button, I get the other form I need. So then what we did was we created a queue where all the requests would go. And that queue is for everybody. It's for the management, which is the admin, and it's for all the employees. So what could essentially happen is if I want to trade a shift, that request would go to the employee I'm trying to trade it to, and it would be in their request. And then when they approve it and they say, yep, I agreed to trade that shift, they hit approve, it automatically goes to the admin, and then they can see it in their request list. And then they can approve it. And once they approve it, a push notification goes out to the employee, letting them know that your shift trade request has been granted. And it's really that simple. So we created that final page, which brought it all together as just a simple list of requests. The request that you've sent and the request that you've received. So that the admin, the management, can go in there and they see all the different time requests, whether it was formal time off, giving a shift away, or trading a shift. They could see them, review them, tap on them, learn more information. It opens it up, hit approve, and it approves it. And when we showed the client to get their approval, saying, we know we've kind of messed this feature up a little bit. We made it a little too complicated. What do you think about this way? We were a little worried because we kind of made it so dumbed down that it kind of didn't even look sexy. The client was actually thrilled immediately. They said they immediately got it and understood it. And we showed them exact screenshots of what the feature would look like because we know how to make things pixel perfect like that. And they said they got it right away, loved it. They said that was what they actually envisioned. They said they thought they were confident that all the employees they were going to give it to would understand it. And, we basically, hit it out of the park with that, that iteration. But it goes to show you that, sometimes you don't have to be complex to be really effective. And sometimes you have to really think about functionality. Otherwise, your app or your feature is just not going to be effective. It's not going to be received well.
Who cares if it looks good if it doesn't work?
Nobody's going to understand it. We get clients all the time who want to lay something out some kind of way in their head that doesn't adhere to any type of mobile industry standards or conversion mechanics or conversion user behavior psychology. And it's like, where are you coming from to try to dictate how, did you hire us to make something for you, or did you hire us so you can just tell us what to do?
I think the 2 things to really take from that specific scenario is that sometimes to make something not more complex, but sometimes you need to make something more simple, versus more complex to make it more functional. And it may seem like, I need to have complexities in this to make
it's not sexy
to do
enough.
more. But really, like you said, most people are not going to be directly working with your app alone and not doing anything else in the day. And that also lends to another thing you should keep in mind is know your audience as well, because this is something that is kind of a back end, appointment making or shift time management, schedule management, where the general public is not going to necessarily be looking at this. So knowing exactly who's looking at the app and then also making it simple, something that people can use while they're doing something else. I think those are kind of 2 takeaways. And obviously we have a lot more to say about functional app design. You guys can leave comments. You guys can go to our YouTube profile, leave comments there. We have emails on GetThinApp.com.
GetThinApp.com.
And you can email us.
And you can see the screenshots. If you go to Get Thin App's homepage, there's a row at the top that says IG LiveStream resources.
There you go.
You click on that. It's also GetThinApp.com/IG Live. IG Live is the page that we put all our resources on for each of these every Tuesday that we're talking about. So you can actually see the screenshots as I described them, the 5 screenshots. If you go to GetThinApp.com/IG Live, IG like Instagram Live. So, it's not about how sexy the app looks.
Mm-hmm.
It's about results.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about. Results are what's sexy. If you look at famous companies like Amazon, these companies really don't look sexy in any kind of way. They're very functional, basic, but they get the job done. Apple is, or Amazon is constantly examining their ROI, their conversion mechanics, how much money they're making not per hour, not per minute, per second. They know it per second. They look at load speeds. They look at all of that. Results is what's sexy, not necessarily design, layout, how much stuff you can stuff on one page.
And to add one more little thing before we leave is, with apps, you can actually play around with the design a little bit. Once you have something functional, you can actually play around with little stuff. Add a button here, add an animation here, add an image here, or a splash screen, or
enhancing the basics of what's already
and then
there.
You can take that away if you get negative feedback. So there's so much more to this, but we wanted to just kind of start a discussion on it, give you an excerpt of a look into what functional app design means to us. We just saw Black Panther, so Wakanda is going to be the key word. Put that in the comments. You could email us that if you want to, but it's going to be way easier to put in the comments. But however you get that keyword to us, we will consider you for a free app. We are signing off. We'll be here next week. I think it's the 6th of March. But we will be here next Tuesday doing another live stream. And we'll keep you guys posted if there's any interruptions in our schedule. Signing off, Mark Anthony, the founder here. See you guys later. Thanks for showing up.